you know, it just goes to show that like if we don't treasure these moments while they happen, then like they will be lost forever. So let us enjoy them while they last.
And with that, this is episode 10 now of Podratix, of the Podratix Gaming Cast.
Wow.
I'm Zach.
I'm Sophia. I can't believe we've already done 10 of these.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's been that long.
Yeah, I don't know, because it's just been like super casual. Just get together and talk about video games and like, oh, we've already done this like a lot.
Yeah, and that like we've missed some weeks too, because again, it's very casual. If life happens, this takes a backseat. We're not getting paid for this, so
yeah. I mean, unless Jeff Bezos wants to give us some of his money, then like I'm certainly not going to say no to that.
Well, sure. I mean,
I will relieve him of a few of his dollars.
Yeah, it's so crazy to think about that. Like, I was just thinking about it the other day. Like, he could have individually funded an entire team of rocket scientists to build him a rocket to fly up, like just in his own personal cash.
Yeah,
like probably within a year, and still not have been anywhere near, hurting for money.
Yeah, and could still have been a trillionaire.
Right.
Is that what he is now?
I mean,
a trillionaire?
I don't know, but probably.
No,
but be surprised.
No single person should ever have that much money ever. It's disgusting. But I digress.
That was welcome to our video game podcast.
Today we're talking about politics.
So I guess, do we want to jump into what games we've been playing?
Sure.
So you've been playing this brand new game called Hollow Knight.
Mm-hmm.
I just keep seeing the hours rack up.
What are they at now?
It's like 150 or 155 or something.
Oh wow, golly. Yeah, it's really good. It's just so much fun. I feel like I've already kind of talked about Hollow Knight on here, so like there's not really much more that I can say.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I'm sort of like having a second think about passing up on the Godseeker DLC. I'm thinking I might actually dip into that and try it out.
How much is it? And what is it?
Well,
did you talk about that last week? I can't remember.
I don't remember. But I could kind of touch on it a little bit. So these days, when you get Hollow Knight, I think you get all the DLC with it. So like I got it when it was on sale for like $10 a couple of years ago, and got everything with it. And one of the DLCs is Godseeker, I think, and it adds like a few charms, some balances and whatnot, but it adds like a whole like boss rush campaign.
Oh, I can't remember if you were talking about this on the podcast or just telling me off air.
Yeah.
That sounds very difficult.
It's extremely difficult because like there are a lot of prerequisites. Like you could just like go through normally with like your whatever upgrades you have and charms equipped, but there are like extra things that you can do where you lock down your max health, your max magic, you like have like a fraction of your damage output and no charms, and like if you do all four of those things, then like you get like you unlock extra stuff to do in that, and like it all builds up to like an actual like conclusion to the game. So there is technically you can beat the game by doing the Godseeker DLC instead of like doing the main campaign.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I already know what the ending is because I've seen it on YouTube. So like I'm not really like in it for that. I'm mostly just like excited for the challenge.
Wait, you haven't finished the game?
You
haven't finished the game?
No, I have finished the game. I've
Okay.
beaten it. I've beaten it a few times.
I was gonna say, like
Um,
at 150 hours, I'd hope so.
I'm still cracking away at it. Haven't quite got there. Um, no.
Oh, I'm sorry, 160. I just checked it live.
Oh, okay. No, I've just never really like I've done like a couple of the early ones in of Godseeker because like it's like set off in sections and they get harder and harder as you go, and
Gotcha.
then I think there are parts where it mixes up the bosses. I think like story wise, I think the idea is that like you were running a gauntlet meant to um, summon a god or something.
Hmm.
I don't exactly understand it, and Hollow Knight it leaves a lot kind of like up to speculation
Right. I do
about
remember
what's
that
really
about it.
going on. Um, but um, I'm probably going to dip into that once I get to it. I'm still kind of working on like the main campaign.
Okay.
Um, this is like my third or fourth playthrough.
Wow.
And once I get that, then I'll go beat up the gods.
I feel like I should actually finish this game one of these days.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, like if you wanted if I would be totally down to making it a game club thing and having like a proper discussion about it because I would love to hear what you think about it.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah, that'd be a good idea. That'd be a good way incentive for me to get back into it.
Hmm. But
But I feel like mostly is what our game club is, like just a good reason to go back to play some of the games that we've already been wanting to
yeah,
play or replay.
yeah, and foster a discussion around it.
Right.
Just a good excuse to share something that we do or don't end up enjoying. I guess. Do you want to like switch off? Because I could talk a little bit about Cyberpunk. Um,
Yeah, it
do you want
depends.
to
Do you
talk
want to go
about
back and
something?
forth or
Yeah, you go ahead. You go next.
okay. So I'll actually start with the stuff that I played last week. I just kind of did. I did a dip into NSO. I think I messaged you about some of this,
Hmm.
um, just to kind of see because like most of the games on there I have played already, so it's not really um, a part of the service that I generally use. But I was kind of trying to see like are there? I know they've been adding some obscure games on there, so I decided to jump in and check out a couple. One of them was The Immortal, which is I don't even know what to describe it as. It's like a isometric adventure game where you die randomly.
Oh,
Um,
hence the name.
exactly. No, so I knew this game existed as a Sega Genesis game. I had never played it. I was kind of interested in it. It's
Hmm.
one of those early EA titles, which I don't know if you're familiar with their earlier works, but they were always like really complex, usually like too complex for whatever system they were on. But I had no idea there was an NES port, so I decided to play that. Um, yeah, you just kind of go around in this isometric view. Combat is done through kind of wiggling back and forth. You would engage with an enemy, these like troll guys, and they it's like Punch Out but bad. So you're supposed to like dodge left and right and then swing when you have an opening.
Hmm.
But it's still at a weird isometric view, so it's kind of hard to see, and you have to like hold the B button to move left and right, unlike Punch Out, which you just push left and right to dodge. And then you have to like hold A, which when I pressed A, it looked like he was doing a stab, but apparently that's
Hmm.
just him like pulling out his sword. And then you have to like push left and right, but that doesn't always work. So I ended up just kind of figuring out that if you engage a battle and then you hold the A button and just spam left a bunch of times, you win.
So they're like discrete controls for like doing everything. Like you have to like command everything from like pulling out your sword to actually swinging it.
Well, it's like you hold B and that puts you in dodge mode, then left and right. allows you to dodge. Holding A puts
Okay.
you in sword swing mode, which half the time doesn't work, it seems. And the game is like brutal. Like the first enemy that I came across just murdered me countless times until I could figure it out. So they did a terrible job of pacing the difficulty. And then
Mm.
there's these little bat enemies because you on the like kind of overworld area. If you press the A button, you shoot fireballs out of your magic wand because you're like some kind of wizard guy trying to find
Hmm.
his teacher, his master. I don't know. Um, and it's like there's a clue in there that like he didn't really know why his master disappeared, but then he finds something in there that's like, oh, he is in this dungeon of something, whatever it's called. It's like, why would you be in there if you weren't fully sure that he was there? It's baffling. And then you'll loot bodies, and they give you a bunch of stuff that doesn't make sense, and there's no item description, so you have no idea what anything does or where you need to use it.
Hmm.
And then there's invisible traps just everywhere. Like you'll just walk and you're dead. And it looks like he'll fall into a hole, but he'll be hanging by his staff. And if you mash the A button, it'll make it look like he's getting out, but you never get out. So you might as well just put the controller down when that happens.
Ah.
So I hated this game, and the music is very stressful. So it was a very stressful and not very fun time.
You said it's immortal.
Yeah, the Immortal.
The
Uh,
immortal.
yeah, it's like a weird punch out isometric dungeon crawler. You can the fireballs that you shoot with A, they don't affect the goblins. They're only there to kill bats, which are
Oh, I have. Yeah, I've seen this before.
yeah, they're
Yeah, this.
absolutely tiny, and they can like take your health incredibly quickly. There's walls that you go behind that a couple different times I went behind a wall that I was like obscured by a wall, and then I just died. I'm like, why can't I move? And then I see the game over screen. So I don't know what happened there. Um, yeah, if you love walking through dungeons and then dying to new things that you couldn't have seen coming, this is a great game for you.
Mm. That's such a shame because, like, looking at this looks like an amazing game.
For the
This,
NES, right?
yeah, this looks incredible. Like, this was on the Nintendo.
Which version are you looking at? There was a Genesis version and a NES.
I'm kind of seeing both. I searched Immortal NES, and I
Okay.
think it's kind of showing me a
Yeah, no, it
little bit of
looks
both.
amazing. That was like EA's thing. All of their games looked really impressive, but they were kind of like too complex for their time, too
Hmm.
ahead of their time, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say as you were describing the way that like you have to manipulate combat is like wow, it was very really brave of them to port System Shock over to the Nintendo, because that's a game where you have like so many, like you literally like you have so many systems on screen, like from anything from like your weapon target to like the sway of your character as they move.
Wow, I've never played it, but that sounds
I
intense.
I haven't played it either. I want to at some point because it just looks like it looks like a very important game. If you know what I mean,
Right,
like
right,
just
right.
a game that is like yeah
Very
that
influential.
like yeah has like defined everything that came after it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a shame because again, I was drawn to it because I had seen screenshots of the Genesis version. I was like, oh wow, that game looks. There's apparently blood in the Genesis version.
Oh wow.
That's been censored in the NES version, of course, but
Ugh,
um,
those Nintendo sissies.
yeah. Oh, there's also like fireballs and spike traps on the walls, but
Hmm,
because there's no shadow underneath them, you can't tell where they are in space exactly. So that's fun.
that sucks. Well, what an interesting game though.
Yeah, it's one of the more unique NES games that I've ever played. I wish I liked it, um, but again, it left me frustrated and stressed out every time I tried it. So I was like, just need to stop playing this.
Yeah.
It's one of those games that like really requires you to memorize everything and maybe even draw your own maps, like or would have like obviously now you just go online, but
Hmm.
that I can
Or
imagine
you can
kids.
even just rewind.
Oh, I did that. There's only so much that that can do though. Because eventually, like, you'll just get hit by things you couldn't have seen coming, and eventually you'll miss something like the bat that
Hmm.
blends with the background, and then it'll take like a quarter of your health, and you're not paying attention to it, and you don't blink or anything when you get hit. So it's like, oh, how far ago, like, how long ago was it that I got hit by that bat? Like,
Uh,
so. And then the other game I played, I actually did enjoy a lot more. Shadow of the Ninja. It's an old
mhm.
Natsume game. The the old Harvest Moon people.
NES.
Yeah,
Let me take a look.
yeah. So it feels very much like a mix of all the kind of ninja games at the time. So it's like part Ninja Gaiden, part Shinobi, part Strider. Like you can
Mm.
cling to railings and then flip up on them, just like in Strider. Um, it's like the core combat feels a lot like Ninja Gaiden, just a lot slower. Um, and then just kind of the way that the levels progress feels very much like Shinobi. But it does all of those things very well. So I don't have a whole lot to say about it other than the sword is terrible. It has awful range.
It,
So it's another one of those NES games like Contra or Ghosts and Goblins where like enemies will drop different weapons, but there's always
mm.
like that one weapon that you don't want.
Oh.
Like the fireball shooting gun in Contra or the torch in Ghost and Goblin. So like you just don't want the sword. You want to get the spear or whatever that thing is. I can't tell if it's like a hook on a chain or if it's supposed to be a spear because it just kind of goes straight out. But it has range and it's more powerful than the sword. So it's just like objectively better. It does have two-player co-op simultaneously, which was a
Oh
rarity for the
wow.
time.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to try that out, but I would actually like to try it at some point. And it's not as hard as Ninja Gaiden. Like it's really hard. It's an NES game, obviously, but it's probably like we played Vice Project Doom a bit together. I don't know if you remember that one. It had like the really weird, cheesy story.
Yeah.
It's more like that in terms of difficulty, or like Mega Man.
Hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say like it just looking at these screenshots, it has a very Mega Man look to it
For sure.
about a lot of these stages. Um, Cyber Shadow Dev discusses the game. What is this? This is not what I. This
Cyber
is not.
Shadow just came out this year. That's a really good game if you haven't played it.
I have not. I don't know. I don't know anything about it.
Um, it's on Game Pass too, by the way.
Hmm. I gotta get Game Pass. I'm still kind of waiting for that 3 months for $1 to roll back around.
They haven't done that one recently. Every once in a while, I'll get the like 1 month for $1. I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? I usually try
Yeah.
and wait till there's like 3 or 4 games that I really want to try out,
Hmm.
and then I'll like go ahead and do it.
Yeah. I really wanna. I really, really, really want to play Psychonauts 2.
Yeah, I do too.
It looks so good, and everybody's saying good things about it. So I'm just making me like, oh, I wanna,
I kind of want
give
to
me.
wait for the Series X before I play it. Like I'm kind of in that spot like in between generations where like obviously you can't find these consoles anywhere, but like there's all these games that have significantly like more superior versions on the new consoles
Hmm.
that I'm just like, yeah, because they're games that I wouldn't really play on PC to be honest, like Resident Evil 8, um, Tales of Arise. So I'm just kind of waiting to. Those are like two of my most anticipated games, that and Psychonauts 2. So it's like it's kind of killing me that I haven't played them yet. But yeah, so those are the two NSO NES games that I tried out. But you were going to talk about Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I could talk about it a little bit. Um, so it's a really, it's a really interesting game on its own terms, but also for like the whole controversy surrounding it. Um, I don't really know how to like start talking about it because I'm still very early in.
Are you out of the desert area? Are you like actually in Night City now?
Yeah, I'm in Night City proper. There's like a portion, or there's like a part of the early game where like you were kind of locked in one district. I guess the city is like split off into like 4 or 5 different zones
Yeah,
that each have like their own kind of thing going on. Um, so I'm at the point now where like I can go anywhere in Night City. Um,
gotcha.
it's good, but it's also buggy.
Is it's still? I heard they patched it and they got rid of like water effects or something. Like they're still screwing stuff up with patches.
Yeah, it's still it is it is such a shame that what happened to Cyberpunk it happened to it. But that the way that it came to be, it is like such a shame. It feels like we were really robbed of something that could have been like the like like the game,
Right, right. Like I know,
like the next big thing.
right. Yeah, I know. Like
Um,
I was kind of thinking like, oh, this might be like the next Bethesda style game or the kind of
mhm.
game of the generation. It's
this
really a
this
shame this
this this
happened.
is this is the new Skyrim,
Right,
sort of.
right. And I know there's already
Um,
like a decent modding community. Apparently, they actually hired some modders.
I hadn't heard about that. Um, I'm still really early in. I will say the story is pretty interesting. I kind of like where it's going. I guess I don't want to talk too much about it
Right.
because of spoilers, but I will say I did almost get me to cry.
Oh wow.
So there's something here. It just sucks that like not even just from like a technical standpoint, but just that like if it feels like the best thing about it is the story and the
Hmm.
side content just feels so tacked on.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I remember watching like some of the demos they did for the game, and it's like, oh my gosh, this game looks amazing. Like the
Mm-hmm.
characters, the art for the game is phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's really hard to talk about having not like seen it in its entirety yet.
Right.
Um, I I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to come back to this one and share more of my opinions about it. Um,
Yeah, I was personally kind of like I kept kind of waiting for like, okay, when is it gonna balance out? Like when am I gonna hear like, oh, this is the patch that kind of fixes the game, you know?
yeah, the problem is that like it feels, how like when like something can come out wrong and you can do things to make it better, but it will never be right.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean.
It feels like that. Like it feels like fundamentally like it was taken out too early,
Oh, that's really a shame. It's like,
and not even just from like a there are bugs and glitches. Like it's just like the stories and quests and side quests didn't have long enough to bake.
ooh. Yeah, when the main story has like that kind of level of issue, like you can do like new and interesting side quests that you can add in later, but it's kind of
Hmm.
hard to fix the main quest.
Yeah, and even just like the feel of the world, because
Mm,
like one of the coolest things about it is like this environment that you get to explore. And it's just such a shame that like the content in that world is fairly lackluster. But like what's good is great. but what's bad is pretty bad.
Mm. I guess the best thing that we can hope for is that like this kind of acts as a lesson to the rest of the AAA industry, to like for the publishers really, because that's what I heard was I
Hmm.
heard there was a lot of mismanagement and a lot of crunch at the end. So
Yeah.
kind of seemed like it was that similar like BioWare thing where it's like, oh, the BioWare magic will take place at the end and it'll all come together, and then it's like, oh, we're the team that did Witcher 3. Everyone loves that game, but then yeah, it's really a shame. But I haven't played
Yeah.
it, so I can't give. From your description, it sounds like no. I've been hearing
It's
other people say
I,
similar.
I will say like too long didn't read. It's a mixed bag.
Mm,
I think it's absolutely worth trying.
yeah, yeah. I know there's some
Uh,
people that like it was still their game of the year last year in spite of everything. Like the
mhm.
cool new ideas that it had were like really stuck with them.
But yeah, I'm gonna keep playing it, and as I get further into it, and once I finish it, then I will probably be able to talk about it better
Okay,
at length.
that's cool.
But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been to. Other than that, just drawing as always.
Yeah, so I picked up No More Heroes 3. I've been playing that fairly recently.
Hmm.
I don't know if I don't think I've ever said it on the podcast or even QGP. Not sure if I've even said it to you, but I'm a really big fan of the first two No More Heroes games.
Oh yeah.
Um, so this was like kind of one of my most anticipated games of the year.
Hmm.
Kind of secretly, it's one of those games like I don't spend a lot of time thinking about, but they're just always that kind of like fun guilty pleasure game. They're
Hmm.
really like crazy over the top. The sense of humor is just bizarre, but it's like if you're in the right mood for it, like they're really fun games. And
Hmm.
this one is I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm about 5 to 6 hours in. Um, if you don't know the core structure of the No More Heroes series, there's always you're always trying to work your way up a ranking of 10 assassins. With this one, these are space assassins, and there's like a whole crazy like ET style story where this like boy in the 80s rescues this little alien, takes care of him and helps him rebuild his ship. And he launches the ship like right as the government is coming in to investigate. And then he comes back like years later. He's become this like evil prince that's taken over all these other planets and destroyed some other ones, and is just bored at this point. So he's come to Earth like looking for a challenge. And so Travis Touchdown, the main character, just has to put up a fight. So he's kind of the last hero.
Hmm.
I
Wait,
can't
wait,
even
wait,
like
wait, wait. I thought you said there were no more heroes.
that's addressed in the game.
Oh.
So yeah, the gameplay is very similar. As you go through the fights, you do a bunch of preliminary fights to get the money to put into an ATM to be able to challenge the next boss. And
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
the highlight of the game really are the boss fights because they're just insane, over the top, and you never know what's going to happen. Um, like there's even they introduce you to the roster of characters that you're going to fight. You don't really get their personality, just like a picture of them. So there's always kind of that mystery of like, what's their personality going to be like? How are they going to act? What's their boss fight going to be like? And sometimes characters will kill off those characters, and then you have to battle that character instead. So um,
Hmm.
it's just a very crazy game. The first game was an open world game. The second one, uh, well, it was an open world game, but it was kind of making fun of them. So like all of the side content in there was like you had to do these mundane jobs like mowing people's lawns and
Hmm.
whatnot. And they kind of decided like, yeah, we don't really need that. And the second game really streamlined it. And the third game went back to the open world thing, and it's really bizarre because it still feels like it's kind of trying to be a parody of open world games, but they've also put more effort into it. So it just feels weird because it's still really bad, but it's like they've done things to make it better. I've never seen a game do this. Like a game do something that worked, then like turn away from that and then come back to it.
Hmm.
It's kind of bizarre, but the game is it's like two separate games, right? So you're going around this, sub 30 FPS, super glitchy looking, like really unfinished looking city.
America.
Um, and then like the fights themselves are these like really fun, fast paced 60 FPS gore fests. So
Hmm.
it's I don't know, the open world stuff like doesn't need to be here. I'm not sure why he went back to it. Like I think the whole reason they went to the more streamlined menu approach for No More Heroes 2 was because people like even though it was kind of supposed to be a parody of open world games, it's still not fun. So
Yeah, feel like you often walk a very thin line
right.
when you try to make a parody game. Because it is too easy to say, look at this terrible thing. Doesn't it suck that you have to do this terrible thing? This
Right.
is a terrible thing, and it's like, well, then why are you making me do it if it's so bad?
Right,
Like,
right.
that's not a funny joke. That's just a bad game.
Right. And like the whole thing with No More Heroes is like the games are kind of a parody of video games as well
Mm-hmm.
as like anime and all kinds of crazy like wrestling. There's a lot of weird inspiration for these games, but it's definitely not for everyone. And I still like
Mm.
I'm really enjoying No More Heroes 3. It's just like the open world sections are just kind of there. Like they kind of do a Ubisoft style thing where you have to basically use a plunger to unclog toilets, public toilets, and that's how you like open up areas of the map with icons. So
Because you
yeah, so you have to like play a
because you
plunging
get
minigame with
access
motion
to the
controls.
sewers or something.
There's no You've clearly never played a No More Heroes game. There's no rhyme or reason for anything that you're doing.
Okay,
And it's why
I
I didn't try to explain the story outside of like the general premise
okay,
because it's
okay.
so crazy. And also there are spoilers, I guess you could call them that.
Okay, I
Like
absolutely have got to play these games. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, the
This
combat's
sounds
still fun.
amazing.
One of the core action like mechanics is that you've seen the beam katana, right? That he wields.
Mm-hmm.
So it runs out
It's
of
not a
power.
lightsaber.
Yes. So it runs on like battery power, and to recharge it, you have to shake. It was the Wii remote up and down, and in this, it's the Joy-Con. So it's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be a suggestive maneuver.
Ah, okay.
It's that level of humor,
Ah,
but it actually
I
works.
see.
It's a really interesting mechanic because unlike a lot of like kind of Muso style or Devil May Cry, like you can't just run in there and just keep mashing buttons and dodging. You do have to kind of strategically decide when is the best time to run in and attack. You kind of have to gauge that battery level, and you can level up your character to make the battery last longer. You can upgrade your health, attack power. That stuff isn't explained, by the way. I do want to note that to anyone who might play No More Heroes 3, there's just in the menu, there's just like, oh, you have level 1 health, level 1 attack, level 1 whatever. And I was like, oh, I guess this is a mechanic that gets introduced later. And I was like, about a fifth of the way into the game, I was like, I'm still level 1 on everything. What's going on? Apparently, back in your apartment or at the hotel, I guess, if you go down the they basically have like a fire pole
Mm-hmm.
and it goes down to a basement where you can upgrade, but they never once tell you that that's where you're supposed to do that. So you just get this currency that you're like, what does this get spent on? You have your like main currency that you can use to buy t-shirts or sushi to power yourself up, or pay for the prize fights essentially. But then you just have this other currency that's used for upgrading, and they only give you a pop-up telling you how to upgrade once you're in the upgrade area that it doesn't tell you or mark as the upgrade area. So it's like I was making the game harder than it had to be, I guess. And I would assume
Hmm.
I'm not the only one.
Interesting.
But
That Yeah, this sounds like a wild series. I can't believe I've kind of been sleeping on it.
I mean, it's a
Like,
Suda 51 series, so it's the same guy who made like Killer 7, Lollipop Chainsaw,
okay,
Shadows of the
so
Damned.
a lot of like cult classics
Yeah,
type
yeah.
stuff.
His games are
Okay.
never like super polished. They're never like they're kind of more masterpieces in that they're just that wacky. Like the concept, they click with like a certain group of people, I guess.
hmm
Um, but and No More Heroes is definitely that.
Games made for the art of it rather
Yes,
than
yes,
to make a buck.
right.
I absolutely respect that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, for
You know,
sure.
all power to the devs for making just just buck wild stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. So I'd say it's worth giving a shot. It may not be your thing, but
Okay,
um,
they've released all of them are on the Switch, right?
yes, they're all on Switch. The No More Heroes 3 is a Switch exclusive,
Okay.
but the other two are on Steam as well. The first two.
Oh, okay.
And I think they did a remake of the first game on PS3 that used the PlayStation Move. You can use traditional controllers for it, but they do like there's when you do finishers, like you swing the Wii remote or in this case Joy-Con in a certain direction
hmm
to match the on-screen prompt, and it's like it's a dumb little thing, but it always feels good.
Yeah.
Like because I mean I don't know if you've seen any of the footage. Like it's ultra violent, so there's like blood spray everywhere. Even the aliens when it's like green and purple and
Hmm.
so
Sounds like a good time.
yeah, it's very
Uh,
fun. It's yeah, it's it's very fun. Most of the game is very fun. Driving around on your motorcycle, not so much.
that can be fun.
Not in this game.
Okay, I'll take your
Just
word
trust me,
for it.
it's not fun in this game
Okay. Well, I'll definitely have to check those out. I'm probably more likely to pick them up on Steam because stuff goes on sale all the time
for sure, for sure.
on Steam, and like nothing on Switch ever goes on sale.
Nothing you want to go on sale, right? You're like, oh look, there's that
Yeah.
like, uh, oh gosh, what was that? The Zootopia knockoff family vacation puzzle games, series one
Yeah.
through eight. Oh look, that's on sale for $2. Like, okay, I can't remember the name of those, but it's like a complete rip off.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I guess that's what we've been playing. Um,
Yeah.
so we'll kind of get into the news, which will kind of lead into a discussion. I think we'll see. That's a
Okay.
motorcycle.
Yeah.
That was Travis touchdown going past.
Yeah. You're just talking smack, and he's like, "Hey, don't talk smack about my video game. I have not a lightsaber.
It's a
I
boom
don't.
baton.
I don't. You better watch out. I don't have a lightsaber."
So one quick news article before we go in.
hmm
I saw that Platinum said they would definitely port Star Fox Zero to Switch if given the opportunity. That's horrifying. Why? Why would they do this, Sophia? Why would they do this? Why would they want to do that? Do they not know they made a bad game?
They well, I mean, I think I think I've asked this before. Like, would it be not necessarily? I guess not necessarily like a good game. Would it be a better game if they just took out the second screen part entirely and just made it a regular Star Fox game?
So, two things. First off, it would, in theory, it would be better. Yes. It's still not a good game. I want to clarify. It's a boring and lazy Star Fox game, even if it had no motion controls in it. The motion controls just push it to the next level. Um, but at the same time, the game is balanced around the motion controls. So you can technically, there are workarounds for the motion controls, like setting the Wii U gamepad in that little dock that it comes with,
hmm
and then sitting that on a flat surface and playing it. And then also booting it up in two-player mode, which then just allows you to fly with a Pro controller. Although you can't use charge shots, so it's just like the single laser. So there are a couple ways to play it that way, and I found myself like wanting the motion controls because again, like stuff is just really hard to hit in this game because they were trying to highlight the motion controls. So they'd have to rebalance it, or it would be just as bad, if not in some ways worse, if they just straight ported it to Switch. It's just not a good like this needs to be forgotten. This is because the other thing is the Switch doesn't have a Star Fox game yet. It's one of the few series that haven't come to the Switch yet. And there's a huge audience. Like this is the perfect system to put, these more obscure franchises on. But
Yeah.
this is not the way I want anyone experiencing Star Fox for the first time.
Just make a new Star Fox game, Nintendo. Just
With one criteria, and that is that it has
Crystal
to be
has to
good.
be in it.
I was going to say it has to be good.
Whoops. 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 Did I say that out loud?
Oh gosh. I don't know where to go from there. Yeah, that would be it would just be a bad game to introduce people to Star Fox with.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, if they're going to bring anything over, then like Slippy's Control Tower, sure. Like, give us that, and like
yeah,
by itself.
for sure. That was
Don't.
actually what was that game actually called? Star Fox Guard. That was it.
Mm.
With Slippy's Uncle Grippy. That's that name though.
Slippy and Grippy. It's just it just conjures like very strange images
Yeah,
of like throwing like throw. I imagine like you throw those characters at a wall and just sort of like see what happens. Slippy falls off and Grippy just sort of sticks to it like one of those sticky hands. Did I say sticky? I meant Grippy.
anyways, so just recently, PlayStation did their what was it called? Like the future of PlayStation 5 or whatever.
Something like that. I wonder if I can pull up a.
I pulled up a list of like things that got announced.
Let me pull something up because I only sort of heard what was it the future of gaming live today blog.playstation.com.
Um, no, I
Is
thought
this
that
it?
was that was their 2020 presentation where they revealed the PS5.
Okay. Watch PlayStation Showcase at 1 p.m. That was
Was it just
September 2nd. No, that's just like an announcement for it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I can pull up a thing. So I'm just gonna like I sort of heard that like something happened that like a lot of PlayStation stuff was announced, but like I didn't really like pay any attention to it because I'm not. If I'm being honest, I'm really not super interested in the PlayStation 5.
yeah, yeah. That was kind of one of the things I wanted to discuss afterward. But um, so as far as like the first party stuff, because I feel like most of the first party stuff they announced last year is already out, or
Mm-hmm.
we know a whole lot about, like Horizon Forbidden West, which got delayed to early next year. We did get to see God of War Ragnarok. That's the new one, the new Data Boy 2. It the first game looked really interesting. It's one of those games like I've heard it's like this masterpiece of a game. I've never played it, um, but like this one just kind of looks like more of the same. Like I mean, I know that's like to be expected, I guess, to some degree, but it's still like in this kind of frozen, snowy area.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I don't know, just from an outsider looking in, it just kind of looked like a lot of people were comparing it to like an expansion, and that's kind of what it looks like here.
Less Ice Age, more Ice Age 2.
That kind of concept, though, yeah. Like it just kind of it looked nice, but it didn't look like a generation above what we had on the PS4.
Hmm.
So, and it's because partially it's a PS4 game that has a PS5 version, so it's coming to both systems. It's not a PS5 exclusive yet, which is just kind of another reason that I'm not like super excited about the PS5 right now. Um, and then they showed off. We have a release date for Gran Turismo 7. There's a remastered bundle of Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy coming to PS5 and PC for some reason. Because, PC fans really want to jump in with 4 and 5. Let's not start with the trilogy.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't understand their thought pattern with that one.
Well, maybe they're going to try and soft reboot it, or are these like direct sequels?
These are like 4 is a phenomenal game if you've played 1 through 3, because it's the final chapter of a group of characters that you've grown attached to throughout an entire series. So
Mm.
it's kind of like the goodbye chapter. So I like no, this is not a game you should just play without having played the other ones. So that just doesn't seem like a good move to me.
No.
Um, and then so I'm kind of I'm kind of torn about this. So Insomniac, they announced 2 games and they've already released what, 3 games on PS5 already? A Spider-Man remaster, Miles Morales, and Ratchet and Clank. So it's like I don't know how many people are at the studio, but they are pumping out games faster than anyone else. Um, but they're both Marvel games, so it's like that's going to be those are their projects for like the next 4 years. So like I know they're really good, and I actually do like Marvel, but it's like you know, I don't know. At this point, like this is a whole different discussion, but I'm kind of over Marveled right now or superheroed. Like there's so much of it everywhere. Um,
I'm just
and like
I'm
for the
just so tired. I'm
Insomniac,
just so tired of superheroes.
yeah. So they're making Spider-Man 2 and a Wolverine game, and it's like I'm sure they're both going to be phenomenal, right? Like Insomniac
Hmm.
makes great games, but it's
Yeah.
like at the same time, like 4 to 5 years of just Marvel. Like that's just sad
Well,
to me. Like as an Insomniac fan, it's just
maybe they have like, is Insomniac like big enough to have like smaller studios working within it?
they do.
Okay, so well maybe like they like the focus is on these Marvel titles, but like smaller stuff will come out in the interim.
That would
So
be
like
nice.
we'll probably still get like interesting things from them. Um, maybe just not as big as like Ratchet and Clank.
Right, right. I personally, I'd like to see them do something new. Every generation, Insomniac has like tried something very new and different,
Hmm.
and so I was kind
Sunset
of
Overdrive was like the last generation
right, right.
new
That was
thing,
kind of their
right?
big new thing. Resistance before that on the PS3, Ratchet and Clank obviously on PS2, and Spyro on PS1.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I was kind of hoping like this would be where they announced like this is our big PS5 franchise that we're introducing, but it's more Marvel.
Hmm.
So
Well,
again,
what else do we have in the pipeline?
so that's it for first party. Those were the only 2 first party announcements,
Oh.
which is why I was like, a lot of people were just exploding with hype over this thing, and I was like, I don't know, like it's especially since they already showed the Guardians of the Galaxy game again in the showcase, so that was 3 Marvel games that we had to watch in this one presentation, and like just before that, we have like Firaxis's new, um, what is it, Marvel what's their new game? Their new strategy game, Midnight Suns or something.
I have no idea.
It's the XCOM team. They're making a Marvel game next.
Hmm.
And then we already have like the Tomb Raider team, that's working on like Crystal Dynamics. They're kind of stuck doing Marvel's Avengers, which I can't believe hasn't died yet.
I I don't know if like this is a conspiracy theory or anything, but like I'm wondering if this has like this influx of Marvel content has anything to do with like Disney fairly recently acquiring Marvel and trying to push more Marvel content out.
Well, for sure is, but that was they acquired them in like 2007.
Oh, so it's okay. I thought it was a lot more recent than that. What
No,
was it
no.
that they got recently? Star Wars? Is that what I'm
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
of?
They bought them in 2012, I think.
Okay, okay. For some reason, I was like, Marvel's the new thing that they've got, but I guess they've had it for a while.
Yeah, the MCU is like 13 years old this year.
Oh wow.
There are kids watching these new Marvel movies that weren't alive when it started. So that makes me feel old. So, yeah, yeah, I
I'm
like.
withering away and dying.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know. I found it to be a little bit like depressing. Again, I'm sure they'll be really cool, and I do know these characters, so like I'm very interested to see what they'll do with the Wolverine game,
Hmm.
but not more than what they would have done with a new IP or bringing something else back, like maybe rebooting Resistance or something.
Bring back
Anything else?
Spyro.
Yeah,
Bring
yeah.
back
Well, they don't
Spyro.
own the rights to that anymore, so.
Make another Spyro game. Oh my gosh. Just make another Spyro.
Why did
Why
Crash
don't you
get?
just give him a gun? Just put a gun on Spyro. It's so easy. Ugh, I could do it. Just make another Spyro. Just do it.
With a weapon wheel.
Yeah, give Spyro a weapon wheel. So clever.
Yeah, so that was it for first party. They showed off. Well, I guess technically they're publishing. There's a Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake coming out. I've heard that game is amazing. Never played it. It's one of those like classic BioWare games
Hmm.
that I feel like I should have played, but just haven't.
Yeah.
They showed off Ghostwire Tokyo, which it's looking really cool. I'm a little concerned because again they lost their like lead director or whatever, and that's why this project is taking so long.
Refresh my memory because I'm thinking of the Bethesda.
Yes, that was the
Okay.
game. It was that I can't remember her name, but like it was that woman that came out that.
The super cute lady.
Yes, yeah, that
Yeah.
like everyone was just like, "Oh my gosh, this is the best game reveal ever." Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
she left the project like a year or so ago.
Ah.
And so she was kind of one of the creative leads besides Shinji Mikami, the
Hmm.
Resident Evil creator. Obviously, he was the founder of the studio, but yeah, it's like I don't know. I feel like I'm a little concerned they didn't show off a release date. It was supposed to come out this year, like next month, and it was delayed till next year, and now we don't even have a year. So I'm a
Hmm.
little worried that this game is like really being revamped in development. But what we saw looked really polished and kind of fun. So
Yeah.
I remember the initial gameplay reveal didn't impress me at all. So the fact that I'm more interested now is a good thing. But
Hmm. I don't know. I feel like especially with games like Cyberpunk, um, I now more than ever I'm willing to just like if someone like comes out and delays their game, I'm just like, cool. Just take all the time you need.
right,
Just make a good game.
for sure. I'm saying more of like a not quite a Metroid Prime Four. It's like
What's going on?
yeah, yeah. Like I'm worried there might be issues with the studio itself.
Hmm. Yeah.
Just because like
Well.
not having a release date and then changing it to not even having a year, like that's a
Mhm.
little concerning.
Plus the creative lead
Right,
is no
leaving.
longer there.
One of the reasons I think a lot of people were interested in the game.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, it's always like these days. It's always a worry, and I guess it always has been, but now it's like it's at the forefront of everybody's mind. Is
right,
like there's a lot of really nasty stuff going on in these studios that like we never hear about.
for
So it's
sure.
just like you just kind of have to sit and wait and hope that like your favorite team isn't like one of the bad guys.
Right, right. And it's always hard too, because like there's always really good people in those like studios. So
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those things like I'm not against people boycotting certain games or developers, but at the same time, it's like I don't know. It's a tricky situation.
the
It's like there are
the
people who
impression
still really cared about those projects. That
Yeah, the impression I get is that there's like these are like passionate teams, um, but there are like a few higher up bad apples that spoil the whole bunch.
exactly.
Like it's just it's such a shame that this is a state of things,
Yeah.
and I'm hoping that like with it being more at the forefront of everybody's minds, like companies will start to do something about it.
Right.
And
Right.
instead of, it would be so nice instead of seeing an article that says like CEO steps down. It would be so nice to see like CEO fired, blacklisted.
Yeah.
Like get like,
And then
come on,
there's
people.
and then there's Randy Pitchford who still has a job and is still like thinks he's beloved. That's like it's so weird whenever I see him like making announcements and presentations and like, do you not know the reputation you have? How are you that blind to it? It's like if Bobby Kotick or whatever came out and like did a bunch of announcements. It's like people would hate that. I mean, he's not that bad to be fair, but it's
Who's
also
that?
not.
I'm not familiar with that
He's
name.
the CEO of Activision.
Ugh. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, he's not like Randy Pitchford's not that bad, but he's just kind of slimy. But
They're all bad. All of them.
speaking of
Every single one of them.
speaking of Randy Pitchford, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is coming out next March.
I don't know anything about this, but I've seen like a couple of screenshots. It looks interesting. What is it?
Have you played Borderlands?
No.
Okay. Do you know what Borderlands is about?
No.
Okay. So
It's a looter shooter, right?
it's a looter shooter. It's not a live service looter shooter, but yes, it is a looter shooter.
Mm-hmm.
There's up to 4 player co-op. You just kind of go around these large areas, completing like RPG style quests, and getting. It has like a loot mechanic where a bunch of different guns can have different elements or different perks. There's all kinds of stat changes, so you're constantly kind of looking through the guns that drop from enemies
Mm-hmm.
to try and find like the best new gear, and it's just like a game where you're constantly trying new guns. It's a pretty fun series. It's not. I played the first 2 games. They're not my favorite, but I do like them. I haven't played them co-op, so I don't really have like the true Borderlands experience. But they're not bad as single player games. Um, but yeah, so this is kind of that like 4 player co-op, but it's set in like what Tiny Tina is apparently like she's one of the characters from the Borderlands games, like
Mm-hmm.
just this kind of like really crazy over the top character. And so it's kind of like you're playing her like D&D quest but from a Borderlands perspective. So you're in these like fantasy worlds and she's making changes to it. Like she's kind of the
Hmm.
DM, if you will, for like a 4 player fantasy looter shooter quest.
Okay.
So it seems interesting.
Hmm.
I don't have a whole lot to say about it, uh, but it looks interesting.
Yeah, I think um, this is something I think we talked a little bit about off air. Um, I, I'm pretty sure that that I have a couple of the Borderlands games in my Epic account. I just can't play them because the Epic Store doesn't like to sell me Mac games.
Yeah,
So that's real cool.
yeah, that's
If if
unfortunate.
if real if real cool were Italian for not very cool.
Yeah, maybe at some point, if they either work out a way to play it on Mac or can play it on PC, we should try playing co-op at some point.
Yeah. Well, I think my girlfriend has them on Xbox, so I could
Okay,
probably. I'm sure I can find a way to play them.
gotcha. Um, like I said before, they showed off more of Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. It looks fine.
Mhm.
Um, like it's hard to talk about it because like I'm a little burnt out and you don't care, so it's like
Yeah, like I've seen Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and I thought it was an amazing movie.
hmm
So like I'm very on board,
yeah.
but also like I guess like I hear like names, titles, and terms that come from the Marvel universe, and my brain just I hear static. I start to hear static, and my vision goes white, and then I sort of like come to and realize that like I didn't absorb any of that information.
That's hilarious. So you haven't seen the first one though.
No, I
But
haven't.
you should definitely see that one. That one's actually less connected, I guess. I mean, it's all like yeah, there's still like terms and
Hmm.
yeah, that's it's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah,
But yeah,
the thing that I really liked, I've seen. So here are the Marvel movies that I've seen. I've seen, I guess, Spider-Man 1 and 2 with Tobey Maguire.
okay, so those aren't
Um,
connected to the rest of the.
I've seen Thor Ragnarok and Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
That's so random. That's so random.
And the thing that I liked about Thor and Guardians of the Galaxy is that like each of those, like it didn't feel like I needed to have a wealth of knowledge about Marvel in order to like feel like I was getting something out of it.
Right.
Because like there are like what, like 60 plus years of storytelling behind these movies.
Yeah, they really kind of started in like most of the main stuff started in like 1961 or 63, 4, I don't know. It's something like that.
Yeah,
Early 60s.
and it's just like I don't know what any of like I don't know what it means when Loki pauses to look at blue cube on the pedestal, but I sure am glad that he's excited about it.
That's amazing. The non-comic book fan discussion of Marvel movies. um,
We should do a separate podcast where we watch a Marvel movie and then we have a discussion about it, and you get to geek out about it as like a fan of this universe, and I get to provide my point of view as somebody that like has no clue what anything is, what any of this means.
that would actually be hilarious. Um, getting back to this podcast, though, what else did they? Oh, we saw. Okay, this is hilarious. We saw more Deathloop in
Uh
this.
huh. I've honestly I've been trying to like kind of not look into anything about
Right.
Deathloop because I want it to be a surprise.
Like honestly, like the thing that I find hilarious about this is that they just keep showing it. Like it just kept getting delayed. And it looks really good, but it's like everyone's sick of seeing this. So it's like a joke at this point when Deathloop pops up. It's like that
Uh,
game that everyone wants to play, but no one wants to see any more of.
mm-hmm.
And it's been like that for the last year.
Everybody wants to be surprised by it.
Right. And they did another in-depth trailer about it.
Ugh.
It's like I mean at this point like I had to laugh when I was watching it. I was like that's ridiculous. Why are we still seeing it's because the game got delayed like twice, but yeah.
It's coming out. What, October?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah. No, no, this
Happy
month, I
birthday
think.
to me.
I thought it was this month.
This month?
I gotta look it up now. Well, I want to say it's this month.
They've given us so much information about Deathloop, and we haven't absorbed any
Oh,
of
it's
it.
out in 3 days.
Oh, oh,
Well, there we go.
there we go.
Um,
A lot of stuff coming out like really close to my birthday, so I'm pretty excited about that. We've got Metroid.
yeah.
There's a couple other things I can't think of them. I think Halo's coming out in December.
Yes.
Um, there's something else coming out like really close to my birthday, and I can't remember what that I was excited about.
Um, hmm. Was it Age of Empires 4?
No, I don't think it was Age of Empires 4. I haven't even played Age of Empires 3.
Yeah, I know. I was
I don't know. I'll probably remember.
okay.
But yeah, I'm really excited for Deathloop. I think that's really silly that they're continuing to kind of like beat that drum.
Right, because we've seen this game for now over a year. This game was first shown off at like Sony's Future of Play or whatever event, where they showed
Hmm.
off the PS5, and then it's been in every single show that Sony has done from then until now.
Just put it in a sizzle reel.
Yeah, like we don't we know it's coming out. It's like their last, well, I guess not last, but second to last Bethesda game they'll get on PlayStation. So they're like really showing it off. Do you think it'll have the Xbox Game Studios logo as it boots up?
On PlayStation.
Yeah.
Um, that's a good question. Um, I don't know
I mean, because they bought
because
like,
I know on the Microsoft side of things, like for example, the like Banjo Kazooie
mhm.
and Conquer, they took away the N64 logo on
Oh
a
yeah.
bunch
So,
of
well, they
stuff.
can't really legally use that, I guess.
Yeah, I
Maybe I don't know how
guess.
that works, but okay. So last like big announcement: GTA 5 is coming to PS5. No, I'm just kidding. um, Forspoken got a trailer, and it looks really cool. Do you know anything about this game?
I don't know
So it's
anything
by
about it.
Luminous Studios. It's basically the team that worked on Final Fantasy 15
Hmm.
that has now become their own studio and are making their own games.
Oh, cool.
So I don't really know how to describe this game. I feel like you just need to see the trailer of it. But we had kind of gotten, if you watched the Sony event last year, it was that game where like there's like a woman jumping around like really fast in this like fluid motion over trees and rocks and stuff. Like this kind of open world game where she can like cast different elemental magic. And they kind of revealed like she's a normal human from our world that gets transported, like kind of an isekai story. Um,
Hmm.
and it's being written by Amy Hennig, which is the writer of Uncharted,
Oh,
which is cool because Uncharted was really well written, even when some of the gameplay elements were kind of dumb at times. The characters were all really great. So she seems very sassy, which is kind of cool. We don't get a lot of sassy characters in games anymore. Not AAA, I guess, at least.
well, what about Travis Touchdown? He
That's
seems
not
like a sassy guy.
AAA. I don't know how to describe
Would you
Travis
would you would
Touchdown.
you would you categorize No More Heroes as a AAA game?
No, absolutely not.
That's like a lowercase a game.
Yeah, yeah. Have you seen the screenshots of it? It's
I
hideous
have
at
seen, yeah,
times.
I have seen screenshots of it. It
It is
does it does look
hideous.
very very goofy.
No, but I mean, like graphics are terrible
Oh
at
yeah,
times.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's super stylish. It has like I don't want to say exactly like Persona levels of style because it's not the same kind of style, but it's also
Hmm.
like that kind of crazy menu stuff. And I don't want to get back on No More Heroes 3 though. So yeah,
What's
that was kind of their showcase. I might have missed a thing or two, but I don't know. I think that's
boy? It sure is good. It sure is good to know that we're getting you know um we're getting another way to play Grand Theft Auto 5.
right. They're just starting. Like, when are they making six? Are they ever making six?
I don't know when they find when they if they can find a way to make it like even more profitable.
I
Oh,
mean,
this one's got casinos that you could actually put real money into. from the get go, and you don't have to get the DLC for it.
Yeah, that
This one just steals your credit card information.
that's one of the quests is putting in your credit card info.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's I feel like that game's just gotten scummier and like it's been one of those slow burns, so I feel like people haven't really noticed. But yeah, that like 2K is horrible. They're like absolutely one of the like right up there with like EA, and
I thought it was Rockstar.
they're the developer. They're owned by 2K
Oh,
or Take Two or whatever. The is it the same thing? I don't know.
I think
I don't.
no. I think those are two different
Okay,
ones.
then Take Two is the publisher, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's how that works. I don't know. I don't play any of their games, so like not
Yeah, me
intentionally.
either.
It's just like I don't care, like because like what they're mostly known for. Well, I mean, really, just because they do what the basketball games or something. Like that's not exciting to me in the least. Um, so, anyways, moving on to PlayStation. You're kind of that's loud.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was going to segue into kind of discussing where PlayStation is right now.
Hmm.
Because I was watching this presentation and it kind of got me thinking, like this, like I know all of the that's very loud. Is there a race right outside your like a racetrack?
So we live on a, like a street that goes like straight down to the Capitol.
Okay,
Um, and like if you follow that road, you can get to like pretty much anything if you just drive far enough.
gotcha.
Um, so like a lot of people driving by, and it's Friday night, so
So it's drag race night.
yeah, yeah,
It's Saturday, so it's drag race day.
yeah. It's okay to speed on the weekends,
Right.
officer. The weekend. Um, you were thinking about PlayStation.
Yeah, so I was just kind of thinking about like I know all of the like big three companies, right? Like Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo. They've all kind of changed over the years,
Hmm.
but I feel like PlayStation has really like they started with last generation with the PS4, but especially now they've really just turned into a company I don't care that much about. Like I feel like a lot of their heritage is just kind of gone. They've figured out they found their niche, right? Like they found that AAA like third person story based action game, right? And I kind
Hmm.
of feel like all of their games are just that. And then there's like randomly Gran Turismo and baseball. But
Well, it seems like their focus is a lot more on creating hardware, um, versus creating software. You know?
yeah, but I mean like everyone was like really psyched about this event. Like I saw almost all positive reactions to this. And I just kind of like I guess they've kind of gone a mainstream route that I haven't really followed. Because they
Hmm.
used to do a lot of weird games, right? Like Patapon and Loco Roco. Obviously, like they have a huge like plethora of um, 3D platformers that they used to make. They just kind of they used to be a more interesting company, in my opinion, and they've just kind of found this thing that they do and just kind of keep doing it. So like it's not a bad thing. They still make fun games. Like I really enjoyed Uncharted 4 and Infamous Second Son and whatnot, but and of course Knack.
Oh yeah, who could forget Knack?
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like PlayStation kind of has a legacy, and they've kind of let that drop a bit because that's not where the money is clearly. So it's like I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad thing. It's clearly not for them. They're making crazy money right now, but I just kind of wanted to get your opinions on that too. I feel like I feel like I keep buying PlayStation stuff because like, oh, it's PlayStation. You know, they have all the brands that I love, and then like slowly it's just kind of been drying up. And I
Hmm.
kind of feel like I'm here with my PS4 and I watch E3 or whatever presentation they do every year, and I'm like, I never walk away excited. It's almost always like the third party stuff.
Yeah. It really feels like Nintendo and Microsoft are the ones left over, really like pushing hard for that stuff. And like part of that, like on Microsoft's part, is that like they are working very hard to acquire as many like studios and licenses and whatnot under the
Right.
sun as they can. So like they have access to a lot of really cool talent. Um, like I is there an argument to be made that like maybe Microsoft is like kind of scooping stuff up before Sony can get it? Maybe,
I mean, Sony's
but
been on a buying streak too. They just bought 3 studios
hmm.
in the last year.
But like Microsoft just has it really just feels like Microsoft is out there like trying to make stuff,
For sure, for sure.
and Sony is more focused on um, let me back up. It feels like Microsoft and Nintendo are more willing to be experimental and
Hmm.
goofy, and Sony is trying very hard to only make safe bets.
Right,
It is betting hard on these Marvel games, because Marvel is a big name. Marvel will bring in a lot of money and a lot of attention.
right,
But like Nintendo is out there always doing its own thing, marching to its own beat. Microsoft has like so much talent, and they are like doing a lot of really weird, really cool stuff. So
right.
like I always come away way more excited for whatever it is that they're doing than I have for PlayStation for like since the PS3, I guess.
I feel like the PS3 still had a lot of. Yeah, I think that was kind of a transitional
Yeah,
period.
well, I say PS3 as being like the last PlayStation thing that I was excited for. Like
Right,
I wasn't really super excited for PS4. Like there were a couple of things, but
yeah,
like nothing so badly that like I had to have one. But like I can think of games that like I wanted to play so badly on PlayStation 3.
right. I think the issue with this though is that they're spending so much money making these like, you know, they're really Sony seems to be very interested in getting those big Metacritic numbers,
Hmm.
um, in addition to sales, obviously. But like they pump so much money into these games that when one of them doesn't do particularly well, it's like a huge flop, even if it sells millions, right? Like Days Gone, that game sold really well, but they still considered that to like they said that didn't do particularly well for them. They were expecting better, and they canceled the sequel. So,
Hmm.
and it's
Well, the the other thing is that like kind of going back to Nintendo, like they they sort of do the opposite where like they kind of like spread their resources out, and they make a lot of like smaller like weirder things, and like maybe not all of them are pan out the way that
right,
we would hope, but like a lot do. And there's a lot of like really good stuff. And there's because that's all smaller, it's a lot easier to digest. Like I don't have as much time as I used um to devote to consuming all of this. Like I don't have time to have like 4 or 5 open world games on my plate at the same time.
right,
And it feels like Sony is really trying to push like these very large games, and like you said, they're putting a lot of money into these like these fewer bigger baskets, and when one of them doesn't pan out, it's like it hurts them that much more. Whereas you have many smaller experiences through Nintendo or Microsoft, and just having a wider palette means that like it is easier to please more people.
right. Yeah, and I think you're right. Like, especially with the Marvel games, that seems like that was a particularly safe bet for them. You know,
Hmm.
like it fits in with that. Like I said, the kind of big open world single player, narrative driven action game that they seem to only make like every studio. But it's like, yeah, it's like such a safe bet to do those kind of games. Like I wonder if they're going to continue moving into that. Like I said, they're publishing the new Star Wars remake. Um, so I wonder if they'll start to try and pick up other brands too, not just Marvel.
Yeah, I think and another aspect, I guess, is that like we I guess see the fruits of Microsoft's labors more quickly than we have from Sony, because like Microsoft has an air of like being more open and accessible,
Right.
um, and and I guess forthcoming with like a lot of its goings on. Um, and Sony feels very distant and almost cold
Hmm.
in a way.
Yeah, they don't often speak up to the public, and when they
And
do, they
we're lucky if we ever hear anything from Nintendo.
right. But then like you have like their new leader too, Jim Ryan has like almost every time he says something, it's something kind of controversial.
Hmm.
Like last year, the big one was like "We believe in generations," which was a comment basically kind of pushing back against like kind of making fun of Microsoft because they were doing cross-gen first-party games for like the first year or something. But then here we are with Sony, and like so far, there's only like two exclusive PS5 games, and all the rest, including like the new Horizon and Gran Turismo and God of War, are all PS4 / PS5. So it's like
Hmm.
immediately after he said, like, we believe in generations, like we believe that each generation needs to have its own separate experiences, and then they announced like a week later, like, hey, all of these next gen games are also coming to PS4. So
Yeah, the that touches on another thing that like really bugs me about Sony is like with like backwards compatibility.
yeah,
Um, Sony has like from PS3 upwards, um, cultivated an air of like their console is like a luxury item,
right,
whereas like Xbox feels like they have at least tried very hard, um, to make it so that like you know you can continue to play these games that you love on our consoles.
right,
Like they make a game, and that's not just like a one and done. Like that is an investment. That is something that they expect you to be able to enjoy as long as you have it. And I really admire that sort of that commitment of them um, to try to do that. And it just feels so so weird. Like I said, it just feels so cold
yeah,
and and controlling, but also like there's like an exclusiveness to it. Like 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 I said, PlayStation is a luxury item.
right,
It is exclusive. It is expensive, and it is one of a kind. You can only play these sorts of games with it. And like there's like an element of like mystery and intrigue that goes with that, but at the same time, like it really hurts to want to be able to play these games and to have to have specific ways to do it.
right, right. But I also feel like they were a lot more experimental too. Like I know they're still doing like PSVR and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
they were always kind of the ones that like when Nintendo would do something, they would be like kind of right there behind them, trying something somewhat similar, right?
Yeah.
And they used to do a lot of smaller side projects too. Like I always kind of felt like they were trying to hit that same level of recognition as Nintendo,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like they kind of just gave up on that and then went in this one direction. So yeah, I just kind of feel like they've lost what made PlayStation PlayStation to me.
Yeah. I, I say everything that I'm saying like comes from the perspective of someone that grew up with a PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and then after its heyday, a PlayStation 3.
Yeah,
So like and I've played Bloodborne, and that's like the only PS4 game that I played.
My
Um,
favorite.
and it's I don't know. It is. I cannot say like objectively. I mean, who can really say anything objectively? But I cannot really like say that like I know everything that there is to know about Sony and its ecosystem. For example, I completely forgot until you said anything about it, about things like PlayStation Move, PlayStation VR, and some like the more experimental software.
Yeah.
Heck, they did the Vita before they dropped it like it was molten lead.
Or don't forget about the iToy
The
for the
iToy,
PS2.
yeah,
Yeah.
for PS2. Um, so like I don't know who knows. Maybe they're working on stuff and it's just not ready yet. Who knows? But it just like the thing I keep thinking is that they just feel very cold and unapproachable, whereas like Microsoft feels very friendly and welcoming.
Right.
Um, and Nintendo's kind of there for everybody.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know really what the point I was trying to get at there was.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's kind of been this whole discussion, but I
You know,
just kind of watched this and
just
went
take my
like,
opinion with a grain of salt, I guess.
yeah. I just kind of watched this presentation and this was supposed to be like the future of PS5, and it kind of made me still not care. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure it's a great system, and I'm mostly like interested in getting one for the Square Enix exclusives,
Mm-hmm.
like Forspoken. Whenever we get the next Final Fantasy VII remake game, Final Fantasy 16, uh, Final Fantasy Kill Chaos, but
I mean, I guess if this is the future of PlayStation 5, then like wake me when we hit the next generation,
yeah,
because it doesn't seem like an interesting future to me, honestly.
right. I kind of feel like they used to be like more of like an artistic brand, like the one
Mm-hmm.
that had more of the not just experimental first party games, but they kind of had a lot of the weirder third party games. Like they were kind of the place for like Castlevania and Metal Gear, a lot of like JRPGs. Like there were
Mm-hmm.
so many series that just kind of, even though they're not first party, they kind of always felt like PlayStation games.
Yeah.
And now
I.
the industry's kind of moved away from that, and they've kind of moved away from that. A lot of those brands don't exist. So
Uh-huh.
it's like it's a good thing for Xbox that like they're getting a bunch of JRPGs and the kind of stuff that only came to PS4, but or like PlayStation brands in general. But yeah, I feel like they've kind of gone from that kind of artistic, like hardcore gamer game system to like the mainstream equivalent of a Marvel movie. You know, like the game console equivalent.
Yeah. It's such a shame. Yeah, I can absolutely see that. Like, especially thinking back to like the PS1, it was really like the wild west for games like that.
Right.
It like defined defined a generation of gaming, and generations after. And now it kind of feels like my knee jerk reaction to say that is to say that like that has kind of fallen in Nintendo's lap, that they've kind of picked up the slack, but like even more so Microsoft is really pushing it and making like really like beautiful games that like have something to say versus like here's another superhero video game, it's about superheroes.
Yeah. Yeah, I just kind of feel like Microsoft kind of is going where PlayStation used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like people haven't realized that yet. And it's taken me a while to realize it too, right? Like I feel like they're still kind of capitalizing on like, oh yeah, remember like the glory days of PlayStation? Like they did that oh gosh, what's the Playroom Astro's Playroom, like that kind of built-in PS5 game. And
Yeah.
there's like all these appearances of all these like classic PlayStation characters and third-party characters. And it kind of gives you those like warm fuzzies of like, oh yeah, that's like what play that vibe that PlayStation used to have.
Hmm.
And I just kind of feel like they're still selling it like it's that, but it's really not anymore. It's just kind of, it's your Last of Us and Marvel games and God of War and like just that kind of big AAA narrative driven game.
Yeah. Like I'm not saying that there's no value in games like that.
No,
Like
of course not.
obviously, like there's a market for that, and there are people that enjoy those games. But I'm not one of those people typically. I like games that are fun. I like games that are goofy and colorful. And I especially like games that have something to say.
Yeah,
And I don't like I said before. I haven't been keeping like super close track on what Sony's doing,
right.
but like I don't get that vibe that like anything that they're working on is like has like a story to tell
Right.
really.
Yeah, and like the vibe that I'm getting from them now is like I kind of keep feeling like, oh, maybe I'll see the kind of games I want next presentation or whatever. And it's like I've kind of come to the realization with this one that that's just not PlayStation anymore. That I
Hmm.
feel like I'm kind of looking at in the wrong area completely for, the kind of old school PlayStation experiences that I grew up with. There's another drag racer. Anyways, yeah, this was a very open-ended one. I feel like this is kind of like our Zelda one, where it's just kind of a hopefully enjoyable or somewhat enjoyable ramble.
Yeah.
Um, a little less informed than Zelda, but
No, I enjoyed it. It was really, it's not something I think I've consciously thought about, but it was really good to kind of sit down and have a good think about something that like I used to care so much about, and
right,
that like I hadn't realized doesn't mean as much to me anymore as it used to.
right. Yeah, like I used to be like only Nintendo, and then I got a PS2, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've been missing this the whole time, like, and then I like really got into PlayStation, and I still got into a lot of the games they released on PS3. I still feel like um, that was kind of like their last generation that I was super into. And I just kind of bought a PS5 because like, well, yeah, I love PlayStation. So, and I feel like that's just like, I've kind of stopped playing my PlayStation 4. Like
Hmm.
I've just kind of moved on to Xbox and Switch and PC. So yeah, it's just a little like, I guess it's a little sad, but at the same time, I feel like I'm having that same experience with Xbox now where I'm like, wow, I've kind of been missing some cool stuff. And I really like where they're going. So,
Yeah.
but it's a shame there's still so many people in the industry that bash Xbox constantly. I feel like they're still like made fun of a lot. And I'm not exactly sure why, but
Because they're American. They're not like distant and mysterious like Sony or Nintendo.
right.
They're right here with us Bible thumping Americans.
Yeah, I mean, they do show like they'll show games that are like a long ways out, and then be like, "But here's the stuff you can play now." Like, I feel like we have
Hmm.
a really good idea what's coming from Xbox in the next like 3 years. Whereas like
Yeah.
and I'm excited about of quite a few of them. Whereas like with PlayStation, I'm like, "Oh, you got some nice Marvel games there.
Hmm.
What else you got?"
Got some nice Marvel games. You got a PlayStation 4 game. Oh, you got a few of them. Okay. Why did I need to spend $600 on this again?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that how much it is?
it's 500. It's 400
It's
for the discless version,
eh,
which I'm assuming they're taking a pretty big loss on because that disk drive can't be more than like $20 for them.
yeah,
But I'm guessing, they make more money off of a digital sale. So if they can push for people to buy enough digital copies of games, they'll make their money back.
yeah. I don't know. I feel like if I'm going to get a new console, it's either going to be a new Switch whenever that happens, or it's going to be one of that. It's going to be an Xbox.
Yeah,
And I really don't want to get a digital Xbox. I would love to get the one with the disc drive.
the Series X.
Hmm.
Yeah, that way you can put a ping pong ball over the fan and watch it hover.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're gonna get a console, you got to be able to do something funny with it that isn't playing games.
That new Halo Infinite Xbox looks really cool. It's kind of bittersweet because I'm never gonna get one of those.
Yeah,
Sure would like one of those fancy new like uh, gold and gray Halo consoles, but definitely not gonna happen. It has the top grate instead of being green. It has like Cortana blue under it, and it has a bunch of stars around the top.
I'm just gonna search Halo Xbox and see what pops up.
Yeah, it's pretty nice looking. I mean, it's you can put a lot of designs on a giant rectangle, so
Yeah, for sure.
it's a lot harder to do something with those like
Oh, oh, I wanted it.
right.
Oh, I want it. Oh, it looks so
The
good.
controller looks cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Oh
got the stars
gosh.
and like the gold outline of Master Chief's visor on it.
Yeah. Oh, gee. Wow.
Yeah, that's why I said it was bittersweet. I looked at it, I was like, geez, I'm never going to be able to get one of those, but man, does it look cool.
Oh, this has. Oh, it's got velocity architecture. Have you heard of expanding game library?
Do you know what velocity architecture is?
Yeah. It's powered by a custom SSD and integrated software.
I'm pretty sure that's referring to it's able to use some of the SSD storage as RAM because it's fast enough.
Ah,
So in very demanding situations, it can actually basically use more RAM than it actually has access to.
that is so cool.
Yeah, these new
That's
consoles are like there's no reason that there should be pop-in anymore. Like that's one of the craziest things about these new consoles. Which, by the way, I know it's an early build, but the new God of War game had like visible pop-in. I'm like, why is it there? Like, you
hmm.
have this crazy fast SSD and like 16 gigs of GDDR6 RAM. Why is there still pop-in? But again, just probably just an early build. But
I want
I'm
this
not
so
trying to
bad.
dump on PlayStation. It's just like it's just one of those things I need to just like get through in my subconscious that it's not the same company anymore.
Oh, it's out of stock everywhere.
Yeah,
I
like
click
I
check
actually
availability
legitimately
and it
tried to get a
doesn't even show anything.
I legitimately tried to get a Series X once. I was like, I'll try it one time. I fought in one of those like Walmart stock like restocks where you just kind of keep having to like refresh the page and try and get in your cart. And I did that one time. It's like never again. I'll just wait till I can get it in stock. That was miserable. A waste of
Hmm.
my time. I never even got it into my cart. The page just crashed every time. So
Well, I need to close this, or else I'll just keep sighing wistfully.
it's such a good looking console, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
gosh.
love the blue grate at the top.
Yeah. Golly. Anyway, I guess this has been our podcast.
Yeah, yeah. I wish Nintendo did some cool like fancy Metroid console.
Gosh, wouldn't it be so cool if Nintendo did something cool?
Well, they just they spoiled Metroid Dread
I
with
haven't,
trailers.
I haven't, I haven't, I haven't seen anything.
So here's the thing, right? They released two trailers in like the last month.
Hmm.
I I tried to hold out in the first one. I ended up watching it. Um, I'm really torn about it because on the one hand, it made me so much more excited for it. The locations, the new abilities and stuff, it looks so good. But at the same time, like they showed what looks like way too much, like story stuff I didn't want to know yet. So I can't recommend watching it. I didn't watch the new like 4 minute overview trailer just because it's like that's for sure going to spoil stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying very hard to like
Yeah,
dodge the rainfall that is Metroid Dread spoilers direct from Nintendo.
I mean I know why they're doing it, right? They're trying to
It's like
really.
they're aiming a fire hose trying to hit me with it.
It's because they're not marketing it to us, right? Like they know Metroid fans are going to buy it.
Hmm.
This is like they have to show the cool stuff to get the new fans on board.
I
And I'm
guess
already seeing
so.
so much hype for this game from people who have never played Metroid. So I'm very encouraged that this could like maybe be a turnaround for the series.
I hope so because it sure freaking deserves it.
It really does. And I'm gonna like having just finished Fusion, I am more excited than ever. Just because like
Mhm.
I'm now remembering like oh yeah this game has some ends in a very interesting manner. So
Um, Yeah, I'm really excited. I think probably part of the reason is that like it's been so long since there's been a new Metroid game, and also I remember when Skyward Sword came out the first time, and I was so excited about it. Like it was like the biggest thing happening in my life. And I was just like gobbling up as much information about it as I could possibly find, and like I already knew a lot about the game when it came out, and like I enjoyed it. I still think it's a good game, but like I feel like I was a little like I don't know, a little. It kind of spoiled it a little bit.
yeah, for sure. I did the same thing. I remember looking at screenshots. Like every time there was some new screenshot that came out, it was like
Hmm.
studying every corner of it.
That was back when there was Nintendo had like more like website activities and
Right.
whatnot, and like they're like posting articles and screenshots and like there were like interviews with like the developers or whatever.
Yeah. We actually got to like
And
hear from the people making the games.
yeah,
Wouldn't
and
that be
it
nice
was
to hear, Nintendo?
and now I'm just like, you know what, I know that I'm going to enjoy this game when it comes out, and I don't I don't need to know about it beforehand.
Right.
I will get it and I will play it and I will love it, and then I will watch all the trailers.
That's kind of what happened with Odyssey. Um, I stopped watching like any footage after E3. Like I watched the E3 footage, the trailer, not the Treehouse Live. I didn't want to see that.
Hmm.
And then I didn't watch anything else after that. I went back and started watching like the stuff that I missed. They like spoiled every area of this game. It was
Yeah.
insane. So like they're not beyond doing that. They're definitely not. Um, I remember like during the September Direct, right before the game came out, they showed like 3 or 4 minutes of just solid footage. Like, here's every kingdom in the game. And I was like just kind of closing my eyes, like just listening to it. And I like glanced over because I thought it might be wrapping up, and I saw the New Donk City Festival. I had that spoiled for me. I
uh,
was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" That's like the coolest thing I could have looked over for.
that's a shame.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you can make it through unscathed when Odyssey 2 rolls around.
Do you think it'll be Odyssey too?
I think there will probably be an Odyssey 2. I don't know if that's going to be the next one. I
I'd
don't
like
know
to
if that's
do
going to be the next
Odyssey
Mario.
for our game club at some point because I have a
Yeah,
lot of very different opinions on that game. I really like it, but I have a lot of opinions on that game.
yeah, I'd be down. We really need to like figure out because we have a lot of ideas on the table
Right.
now.
We'll have to do 64 at some point too. And then you
Okay,
just need to live stream the footage so I can, at least through Discord, so I can watch you play it. And
I can do that. I will do that. I will do that for the podcast. I will do that because you're my friend.
we'll use your footage of the game. Right,
I'll tr-
right after Mega Man
I'll try
2.
speed running it. I don't know anything about this game except that I hate it. I don't hate it. It just I've talked about this at length.
Yeah,
I've
I
not.
know.
I don't need to repeat myself.
Anyways, that was our show. That was a kind of a crazy show. I thought it was going to be
Yeah,
short. I'm looking at it now. It's like over. It's like an hour 45.
yeah, almost
So
2 hours.
yeah,
Golly, we had a lot to say.
yeah, we had a lot to say. Not a lot of structure to it, but we had a lot to say.
Yeah, well, we keep it fast and loose,
Yeah.
um, keep it comfy, cozy.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah, thanks so much for hanging out with us as we talk about video games and the people who make them.
And we'll be talking about Fusion next week, or well, next episode. We'll say it that way, just in case something changes.
Yeah.
Whenever you're listening to it.
Yeah. The next one, we're talking about Metroid Fusion for the Game Boy Advance Nintendo handheld console video game system. Or you could play it on your Game Boy player for the Nintendo GameCube home entertainment console system. Or you could be a dirty, rotten pirate. Download it off the internet.com.
The best outro ever.
This is really weird energy to end the podcast with.
It's kind of perfect, though.
Oh, Visual Boy Advance, don't mind if I do.
It's just like a continuous outtake reel as an outro.
It works, I guess.
All right, see you next time, everyone.
See ya.